All cancers have a better outcome if we find them early. And colon cancer is no different. It is very curable if it's found while it is a small growth confined to the bowel. It's easy to remove that part of the bowel that has the tumor and reconnect the bowel. Most people would not know they lost 6 inches or a foot of bowel. So if you could find it early, you can take it out and you're cured.
In this special feature, we recognize that colorectal cancer is um, highlighted in the month of March. And so we thought it necessary to find out much more about this condition that affects so many individuals. So today we are here and we have met up with a gastroenterologist, yes, Dr. Seaton, who has a vast amount of experience in the field, and he will be sharing with us today about colorectal cancer and what we can do to minimize the impact and what we can do to prevent, maybe to prevent it, and what screening is available for you. Welcome, Dr. Seaton, and take it away.
Thank you very much. So, um, I want to start my remarks by giving you a brief background about cancer. Cancer is a problem for all of us. It's a disease of aging. So it tends to be something that goes wrong as you get older. It's quite uncommon in very young people. And as we get older, we're all more vulnerable to cancer. And you can get cancer in any tissue in the body. Obviously, for all of us from experience, some cancers are more common than others. But almost any part of the body can get cancer. Cancer tends to be more likely in tissues that are turning over very quickly. So it is the gut, the cells in the gut change and fall off and regrow very quickly. So the gut is an important place for cancer. In all of us, the number one cancer in ladies is breast. And the breast cancer risk is quite scary. It's about 1 in 9. Unfortunately, we have no way of preventing breast cancer, and you're all aware of many programs to try to find it early. So we advise ladies to get mammograms and so on at a certain age, and that helps to find it early.
Yes.
The number two cancer in ladies is colon.
Mm.
In men, the risk of prostate cancer is about the same risk as ladies for breast cancer. It's about 1 in 9. And again, we don't know how to prevent it. We have ways of finding it early, but it's about 1 in 9, like ladies with breast. Colon cancer is about 1 in 16. So it's not as bad as breast or as colon, as prostate, but 1 in 16 is very big odds. So if you could buy lottery tickets at 1 in 16, that's all you would do. So there's a strong chance of getting colon cancer. It's the number two cancer for both men and women.
Mm.
All cancers have a better outcome if we find them early.
Yes.
And colon cancer is no different. It is very curable if it's found while it is a small growth confined to the bowel. It's easy to remove that part of the bowel that has the tumor and reconnect the bowel. Most people would not know they lost 6 inches or a foot of bowel.
Yes.
So if you could find it early, you can take it out and you're cured. It always starts in one spot as a small growth, and given time, it becomes a more advanced growth. And the later you find it, the harder a chance you have to cure it. But if it's found early, it's easy to cure by taking it out.
So tell me about the screening tools then that are
So the
available.
problem is that early colon cancer doesn't cause any symptoms.
Right.
Most people would not have any idea that they have a tumor. So
Mm-hmm.
the only way to find it early is either you found it by accident because you were looking for something else,
Mm-hmm.
or you went to check the bowel looking for early colon cancer. Okay? But what's special about colon cancer, in addition to the fact that if you find it early, you can cure it, is that it's only one of two cancers which can be prevented. And that you sometimes have to take a moment to think about it,
Mm-hmm.
because we all hear a lot about cancers and we all hear about total body scans and so
Yes.
on.
Yes.
But those are all techniques to find cancer early.
Right.
There are only two cancers that we know how to prevent. Colon cancer is number two. Number one is cervix.
Mm-hmm.
If you ladies get your pap smears the way you're advised, you will never die of cervical cancer. Long before you get invasive cervical cancer, you'll have an abnormal pap smear,
Right.
and your doctors will tell you what to do.
Yes.
So, ladies should never die of cervical cancer. It should be picked up when something is abnormal on a pap smear.
Right.
Colon cancer always starts as a non-cancerous growth called a polyp. And a polyp is a small growth like a small grape or a small mushroom, and they can start so small that like the tiniest grape you've ever seen. And during that period of time, they're not cancer.
Mm.
They're pre-cancer. They're a growth that left alone will become cancer. And that interval is 10 years. So you have a pre-cancer growth called a polyp that takes 10 years to become cancer.
Yes.
So this is a cancer which is very common. It's number two for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
But we have a 10-year period. When it is not yet cancer, it's a polyp. And if we take it out, you won't get that cancer. So on principle, it's a very simple thing to prevent colon cancer. Go look for polyps, take them out, and you don't get cancer where that polyp was.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that there are no symptoms associated with early polyps. Remember I said there is no symptom associated with early cancer.
Yes.
You can imagine that there is even less likely that a polyp, which is not doing anything but growing, is going to cause symptoms. So what you have is a situation where anybody you know who has colon cancer, they had a polyp there for 10 years.
Mm.
They didn't know they had it. And then they have cancer for 1 or 2 years before they found out that they had it. And by that time, it's often advanced.
Yes.
But you had a 10-year window
Mm-hmm.
when during that time
You could have found
you
it.
could have found a polyp, taken it out, and you'd never get that cancer. So the principle of what we do is that we try to find polyps. If we didn't catch it when it was a polyp, to find cancer in the colon early, take it out, and that should be all you need. Now, unfortunately, it's not as simple as that. If we said we're gonna go look for early polyps, that means that we should be looking at every single person, and we should be looking at them from early and keep doing it.
Yes.
So you have to be strategic. In a practical sense, you can't say you're gonna scope every single person from the time they're 20 or something.
Yes.
So you have to be strategic.
Yes.
Prime time for colon cancer is very age related. So prime time for colon cancer is about age 60. At about age 60, the chance of having colon cancer, as you're talking to me, is 1 in 100. About 100 people, if we were to check them, one will have cancer.
Yes.
After that, it increases
Yeah.
until it's about 5 in 100, which is the overall number.
Right.
But that is at age 60. But remember we said that the polyps take 10 years to become cancer.
So you need to find them at 50.
Exactly. If you're going to
Ah,
get cancer at 60, you will have a polyp at 50.
50.
So if we start checking people at 50,
50. Yes.
then we will pick up those polyps that might
Yes.
present as cancer at the start of prime time.
Yes.
But we also know that it's a 10-year process.
Yeah.
So if the exam at 50 is normal,
Yes.
you're good for 10 years. You don't need another exam for about 10 years. So
Yes.
it's not as onerous as it sounds. You can get checked at 50.
Yes.
If you're normal, checked again at about 60. And in a practical sense, 3 to 4 exams in your natural life should protect you from the number 2 cancer you can get. So that's the principle of screening.
Yes.
Now, there are some groups that are considered to be at increased risk.
Yes.
In the United States, for some unknown reason, all of the numbers I just told you apply to the white population. The Hispanics are similar to the white population in the States.
Yes.
Asians maybe a little less,
Yes.
but the black population in the States have the highest rate. Now that is a paradox because Africans have a relatively low rate. Yet African Americans have the highest rate in the States.
Is it diet related?
We don't know. But we do know that the statistics in the Caribbean
Mm-hmm.
is that our rate is intermediate.
Okay.
So we're not as free of colon cancer risk as the Africans,
Mm-hmm.
but we're not as bad as the African Americans.
Okay.
So in the States, there is a push to suggest that African Americans, because they perceive them as having increased risk, should be screened at 45.
Okay.
But our advice about screening is that our risk is not as advanced as theirs, and we probably don't need to look earlier than 50. Some people who are concerned and who feel that there's not a lot of difference between our lifestyle and the black Americans want to be screened at 45, and that's reasonable.
Yes.
Now, if you have a first degree relative with colon cancer, mother, father, sister, brother, your risk is double.
Wow.
So in that circumstance, your risk overall is about the same as breast. It's half of 1 in 16 is 1 in 8.
Yes.
So you're now talking about the number 1 cancer.
Mm-hmm.
So those people, we suggest, should be screened at 40 or 10 years younger than the family member.
Yes. Okay.
So if you had a brother or sister who had cancer at 45, you should be screened at 35. If your relative had cancer at the average age for cancer, which is in the 60s,
Mm-hmm.
we suggest you should be screened 10 years earlier than we advise
Yes.
for the rest of the public at 40.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have a first degree relative with colon cancer, your risk is doubled.
Okay.
Now, if you have a first degree relative with polyps, depends on how you think about it. If a polyp is really a young cancer that we caught before it was cancer,
Yes.
that should mean that your risk is increased like it was cancer. It's just that we caught that relative when it was
Early on.
when it was a seed, not the actual cancer.
Yes.
So you might make a case that
Yes.
if your first degree relatives have precancer polyps,
Yes.
then your risk is increased like we didn't find it when a polyp if we found it a few years later when
Yes.
it was cancer.
Yes.
So there is an argument to be made, but it's not the official advice.
Mm-hmm.
I personally believe it's the same thing. You just happen to catch the relative early before it was cancer. So I would screen someone who had a first degree relative, mother, father, with polyps. I would screen them early just like I would screen someone who had cancer early.
So we're talking about screening.
Screening, oh yeah, so sorry, I didn't tell you what I meant by screening.
Yes.
So but there's a lot of stuff about screening, and
Yes.
I should have spent some time talking about that. It depends on the question you're asking.
Yes.
Okay? So we started by saying that early colon cancer causes no symptoms.
Right.
Well, what might they do? They might irritate the bowel in a way that makes you have a change in your bowel movements,
Mhm.
right? So if you have any symptoms, such as an unexplained change in bowel habit, most of us have a bowel habit that we can set our clock on.
Yes.
You get up in the morning, you have your coffee, and you go to the bathroom, or
Right.
you go to do it, whatever. But whatever it is, all of us have a habit.
Right.
So if you have a change in bowel habit, that would be seen as something that you don't understand and would be a reason to consider being checked.
Yes.
If you notice some blood in your bowel movements, most of the time it's a simple reason. You passed a hard stool or something.
Mm-hmm.
But we're all paranoid about blood in the bowel movements because one of the only things that an early cancer does is that sometimes it bleeds. So if you take 100 people with a bit of blood in the stool, it's almost 90, 95 of them will have it because they have some hemorrhoids or they were constipated and passing a hard stool. But a few of them will have it because it's a tumor that's bleeding. And since almost everybody has hemorrhoids if they're over 50, it's dangerous to assume it's hemorrhoids. So anybody who has any bleeding, we would say they should be checked. Now, if you were checked last year, obviously you don't need to be checked again this year, especially since cancer is a 10-year process.
Yes.
But we're paranoid about bleeding in people over 50, and maybe in the years between 40 and 50, we'd also be concerned.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're 25 and you have a little bit of bleeding, it will be very unlikely to be anything much.
Mm-hmm.
But we also use that principle in checking for early cancer. Because if we agree that once in a while it bleeds, it may bleed, but you didn't see it because it's just a few drops.
Yes.
So there are ways to test the stool for a few drops of blood,
Yes.
which will say this person is bleeding a few drops of blood.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's called the occult blood testing.
Yes.
And that is a very sensitive test for a few drops of blood in the stool. That is very well documented to save lives.
Yes.
Several hundreds and thousands of people have been tested and compared to people who are not tested, and it has been. But then that sends you to a colonoscopy to take the polyp out.
Right. Right. Okay.
So let me shut up for a while and see if I can answer any of your questions.
Um, as we wrap up, what can we do to prevent? What lifestyle changes can we implement to minimize the risk
Yeah.
of colon cancer?
Whenever we're talking about cancer, we always talk about calling in the usual suspects.
Yes.
The usual suspects, the bad things.
Yes.
Cigarette smoking, living bad, drinking,
Yes.
chasing women, all the things
Stress.
all the things that are not good for you and so on.
Yes.
Unfortunately,
Yes.
in the case of colon cancer, most of those things have not been shown to be useful.
Right.
Nobody would tell you that cigarette smoking is good for you.
Yeah.
And we have ample evidence that cigarette smoking is a major cause of lung cancer, bladder cancer, probably esophageal cancer. But maybe because the colon is further down, it's not a major factor. It's easy to tell anybody they shouldn't smoke.
Right.
Similarly, alcohol is not good for you. There is some soft evidence that Some people who drink too much beer may have an increased risk, but it's soft. Yeah, I couldn't honestly tell anybody they shouldn't drink because it's going to protect them from colon cancer. There is a lot of suggestion that the differences between the people who have, as a population, who have colon cancer have a different diet and a different lifestyle. And there's a lot of evidence in that regard. For instance, Japan and Japanese are traditionally a low cancer group for colon. But Japanese who migrate to Hawaii or to the United States eventually acquire the American rate.
Yes.
What they find is that the parents who tend to eat their traditional food don't get the American rate, but their children who eat hamburger seem to get the same rate as the American children.
Yes.
So that tells us two things. One is that it's not racial.
Yes.
And the second thing it tells us is that it might be diet, because that's the easiest thing to see as the difference between the Japanese from Japan and their children who grew up in America.
Yes.
However, we have never been able to show that if you take, say, an American and you look at their diet, if you take out several thousand Americans, you can divide them into people who eat a lot of meat and not much fiber, and into groups who eat very little meat, maybe even vegetarians.
Yes.
You can't show a difference.
Yes.
And you can't, there's never been any evidence that if you take someone in their middle years and tell them that stop eating meat, it makes a difference in some things like heart disease and so on, but we don't have any evidence that taking someone who is functioning and change them to not change their diet, you make a difference to colon cancer. It would be attractive, and there is strong belief that saturated fat and so on is bad for you, and it increases your risk of colon cancer, animal fat. But we can't show any difference that the vegetarians are more protected. In fact, I lost a dear beloved colleague to colon cancer, and have an interest in why doctors get colon cancer, because this is something which we know we can prevent. And so even if we're not teaching people how to prevent it, we should know. And I have a dear friend who died about 3 years ago from colon cancer. And I said to her, what happened? She said, well, Trevor, you know me, I live a very good life. I am almost completely vegetarian. I get my pap smears and I do my mammograms when I should. I'm a doctor, I know these things. But I thought because I live such a good life and I'm vegan almost, I didn't need to worry about colon cancer.
So she never did the screening.
And she said how she was very compulsive about doing all the other things she should do.
Yes.
And I just said, wow, we're still not getting it right.
Yeah.
So the truth is, all of those lifestyle things are good for you, but we can't tell you that protects you from bowel cancer.
Yeah. It's important to do this.
It's important to and it's an opportunity, because this is one cancer where we have 10-year window to find the pre-cancer growth and prevent it.
Yes.
There's no other cancer we can prevent in a man, and in a lady we can direct you to get your pap smears, but there's no other cancer we can prevent. So colon cancer, please let us take out your pre-cancer polyps, and then we can protect you from colon cancer.
Thank you so much, Dr. Seaton. Indeed, we have learned so much from this conversation. I feel like we need to have a part two. I feel
Happy
like
to.
I feel like we need to hear more, and your wealth of experience speaks. How long have you been practicing gastroenterology? I just need to
Well,
ask.
you can look and see that I have no hair, and I used to have an afro.
So it's
So
been a minute.
so it's been a minute. It's so I've been doing colonoscopy for about 40 years.
40,
40. So and
40.
I've been coming to Cayman for 25 years doing colonoscopy.
All
So
right, so
so it's a lot of time.
we came to the right place. We
Yeah.
really thank you and appreciate you spending your time to share this valuable information. And I hope that it will be beneficial long after the persons will share, and they will also tell our relatives. Sometimes we feel like ignorant, like if we don't do the test, everything is going to be okay. But this is something new that we learned. We have a 10-year window.
That's right.
So let's do something about it. Thank you so much, Dr.
Take
Seaton.
care.
It
It's
was
a
a
pleasure.
pleasure having you right here on Flashpoint.
When you need ultrasound that's safe and effective, you must visit Asai Ultrasound Imaging. They're conveniently located at number 4 Chestnut Center, Smith Road, Georgetown, Cayman Islands. With experienced technologists with over 20 years experience, their friendly staff will make you comfortable while you get your procedure done. Asai Ultrasound Imaging is open Mondays to Fridays, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturdays. Call Asai Ultrasound Imaging 345-949-2454 or 345-938-3426. That's 345-949-2454 or 345-938-3426.